When I was a little girl, I used to visit my grandparents' house. We loved visiting them, even though we weren't allowed while there to listen to the radio or watch TV. You remember, Granddaddy was the one who would preach against men having long hair and women wearing pants, and he also preached against TV and radio and especially rock and roll music. We were allowed to read the Bible, and we were encouraged to do that, especially while they were taking an afternoon nap every day. And I remember reading about Lot's daughters and what they did with him, and how Jael killed Cicero, the general, with a tent stake. And I remember reading these stories and just thinking to myself, they want me to read this instead of watching the Brady Bunch? If we take seriously that God so loved the world, and that God is reaching out to every person in every place, then we might look in some crazy places like the Brady Bunch or music or movies to see how God is at work. And if we take seriously that every person is created in the image of God, we might even find people who don't believe in God still creating stories or movies or books that talk about redemption and change and justice. So this month, we're going to dust off some of our old record albums and think about what John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, might say about each Beatles song. I'm not sure that John would appreciate and approve of us doing this in worship in a Methodist church, but there were other things that he didn't appreciate when he first heard about, didn't approve of when he first heard about. For example, he heard that there were preachers who were going out and preaching outside factories, so factory workers could hear the good news, and in places where there weren't churches or where people didn't feel welcome in the churches. He didn't approve of that at first because you had to preach in a pulpit. But later, he writes in his diary, I submitted to be more vile. I love that, to be more vile. And he preached out in the fields, and he saw God at work when he was working, talking, speaking people in a place and way that they could understand. Have you ever had a time like that? A time when you unexpectedly heard God working in an unusual way? Maybe a time of laughing with friends, and you thought to yourself, oh, wow, this is a glimpse of what God wants for me and for everyone, this kind of community, these kind of friendships. I remember when I heard the song Shake It Off that Taylor Swift, I have to do Shake It Off, when that song Taylor Swift sang, and I thought about how easy it is to hang on to hurts and not forgive, and how the prayer Jesus teaches just so emphasizes our need to forgive, our need to let go, that it's part of the forgiveness that we receive from God. I think one of the most fun evenings that I've experienced were with a group of friends who, as a small group, would sit and together watch old movies, and we would each pick out a funny movie, and after the movie our small group would talk about where we saw God, and I would never have imagined that there was so much theology in my cousin Vinny. Who would have thought? Anyway, I'd love to hear how God maybe spoke to you in hearing a song or a movie or a TV show. And I'd love for you to be part of our John Wesley Meets the Beatles sermon series on Sunday mornings. You just never know. You just never know how God might show up in an unexpected way or unexpected place.